Welcome to Challenge 13. So at this time we're going to move into division. And just like when we moved from addition to subtraction, we make sure that we're using the right symbol to add and the right symbol to subtract. Now, standardly, we use that little cross to add and that little dash to subtract. In code, when we multiply, we use the asterisk. So I want students to become familiar with using that little star, what we call the asterisk sign, and that's shift 8. Now with a division, typically when we write a division problem on pieces of paper, we have one number and then there's two dots with that little dash in between. However, in code we use the forward slash, and it's actually called the forward slash. So this is actually located right next to the shift key underneath the question mark, and it's a forward slash because it slashes that way. Um, there's a backslash which goes the other way, and so just for you to see the difference here, this is a backslash. It slashes upwards backwards. So we want to actually do that when we write the code. So hopefully that makes sense to you. Let's go ahead and move forward. So in our pseudocode and our flow chart, we want to make sure that we're setting up everything as we have been. And so right now for this particular tutorial, I'll leave things as they are because we really want to take a look at the code structure as we would write it, but make sure that everything has a sequence. So we're going to, of course, display divide two numbers. Now earlier, I had indicated that we may also add the fact that we want to display what those two numbers are. So display num1 and num2, okay? But we can't display those, and I could actually increase the font on that until we create those numbers. So let's go ahead and create them first. So I think I did that backwards. And so I want to move everything out here. I want to move this, and I want to move it up here. Okay, and as you can see, I'm even using the wrong variable name because we're now actually using division. So I want to make sure that I'm checking everything as we go. So let's take a look at our pseudocode line by line. So I want to create three variables up front: num1, num2, and quote. QUO2, QUOT, short for quotient. So I want to make sure I have num1 is equal to 15, num2 is equal to 3, and quotient is equal to 0. Then I want to go ahead and say display, or I'm sorry, divide two numbers, then display num1 and num2, and then run the action. And this is QUOT equals num1 divide by num2, and then display the quotient. Okay, so I'm going to leave my pseudocode here because it would take a lot of time to do that live on camera to move these around. You, as the learner here, would actually recreate the flow charts using these symbols on your sheet to mimic or copy exactly the order structure that we have here in our pseudocode. But I can do it here. So I can do this. I could create my variables, excuse me, my variables, num1, num2, and quotient, and then say display divide two numbers, and then also display num1 and num2. Then we're going to run the quotient. We're going to actually run the operation num1 divided by num2, and then display the output. Okay, so that looks good. Let's move to our code. And what we just wrote on paper, we're actually going to put into our program. So we have num1 as 15, num2 as 3, quotient as a 0. Then we're going to run our display, and in this particular structure, it's the print statement. So print, this program divides two numbers, print out num1, num2, run the operation, and then print out the result. And 15 divided by 3 is 5. Now, just as a FYI for your information, in computer language, when you're running a division, it's always going to add that decimal point, even if there's no remainder afterwards. It's a default setting for computer division. So just be aware of that as we run through the next couple of tutorials. And with that, I'll see you in the next challenge.